welcome back to another episode of My Memorable Games, where club members, coaches and players go through some of the games and memories of their time at the club. And tonight we've got Graham Butler. Graham's been one of our youth coaches for a number of years, player for nearly 25, 30 years now. So welcome, Graham.
Hi, Scott. Good to see you.
Good to meet you. Good to see you. First of all then, Graham, how did you get involved with the club?
Well, really, it's one of those things. I'd never really played a lot of school. I always liked cricket. I always played with my brother and my dad in the garden and down the park. But when I was towards the end of my school year, my friend and I just really got into cricket. His dad built me a net in the garden, so we were playing there. We go over Shoeby Field and play on the artificial there. And then I can't remember what. I think it was one of his neighbours. I think one of us said, why don't we join a club or something? And he said, one of my neighbours plays for a club. And actually, he knew Doc. So he got the phone number. I phoned Doc up and he said, come down to his usual Thursday practice he used to run. And I was expecting to go down for a proper trial and everything. And so coming down, bowled a bit, batted a bit, did okay. And then he said, fill out this form and we'll give you a call. And I was like, okay. And to be honest, I think it was a week after, he phoned me up on like a Friday or a Saturday night and said, can you play tomorrow? And this is the Sunday Twos game up at Basildon. I was like, okay, fine enough. I think it might have been a Friday, because I think I had to go out and get some, because I didn't have a kid, I had to go and get a bag and a set of pads, because I didn't have them, So he sort of picked me up. So that was my first memory really, was we played a game at Mopsy's Park on a Sunday. Mopsy's not at his best because it was wet, it was damp, it was fairly cold. I think it was fairly early in the season. Doc was running it, but Craig Carter was captain, and I think Laff was playing, Dennis Compton was playing, Doc, Craig, his brother, Pete Wilkie, who some people might remember, Andre Smith, another blast from the past. Nick Hill was keeping wicket. He was only probably about 14, 15 at the time. And unfortunately, he actually got a ball in the mouth during the game as well, so Pete Wilkie took over with the gloves. So yeah, the first memories of that, it really was the fact that Laffers and Tim Knight bowled the whole game. I was thinking, somebody's going to get a bowl at some point. Am I going to get a bowl? We just didn't know what was going on, and they just kept bowling and bowling. And and it's all, I can't remember the scores, but we didn't win. I think we might have just held on for a draw, but I mean, it wasn't great from my perspective. It wasn't great. I fielded. I think I had 2 catch chances, which I dropped. One was fairly hard and one was fairly straightforward. Don't think I got any runs, maybe one, but loved it. I just loved being around the guys, and and obviously met some of the people I knew who'd been down for Thursday, Andre Smith and Dennis. And went from there really. So next game was week after. We were having a home game for the Fours, which was a friendly against Walthamstow. But Walthamstow didn't turn up, but we ended up having an inter-club. It's one of those things that someone said, we haven't got nothing to keep wicket. I said, well, I'll have a go. I used to be a goalkeeper, so I had to get a go and did okay. And I kept wicket for the next 4 years, to be honest. I sort of came as more of a bowler, to be honest.
So what year was it you joined?
I was trying to remember. I think it was late 80s. It was either 87 or 88, I think. I can't remember exactly. It was around that time. So I was trying to find an old fixture card. I've probably got it in the loft somewhere, but I think it was about 87.
So you say you were a wicket keeper to start with when you started playing. So as a wicket keeper, what team was it you first went into when you started playing regularly on Saturdays? Was that the Fours?
It was the Fours, and that was the days we were playing friendlies. So I think I probably played in the Fours for probably on and off for 2 or 3 years. The odd game in the thirds. I remember the first game I played in the thirds was up at Belfairs. And that's where I first met like Pete Stannard and Liam Butler and some of the other guys. A guy called Simon Head was playing, who I'd met a few times. Martin Johnson, who again some people remember. Played a game up there. I remember took a catch off Liam. I always seem to take a catch off Liam whenever he played. I think he got the little away swingers going. And again, can't remember too much about the game, but enjoyed that. And just when I first met the guys, and they gradually sort of merged between the Fours to play more and more in the threes, I think. Again, as a wicketkeeper, really.
So what prompted the transition to bowling?
I think what happened is I always kept the bowling up in practice. It's just getting it to change from a wicket to a bowler. I think when I was playing on Sundays, I used to play for Buxton's on a Sunday, which was great fun. Enjoyed that. And I think what really turned it was we played at home at Priory Park. Then we'd gone back to Access. I'd played a couple of games for years before, and but I think because Buxton's were playing Access the week after, Roger had loads of players who wanted to play because everyone wanted to play at Access because then it was a really nice facility, changing the bar, all that. So I think he sort of was looking for people to drop. So, but then I think he was speaking to the Access captain and said, "Oh, how are you doing for players?" And he sort of said, "Oh," and it basically got me a game playing for them. And they had a guy keeping for them then. I think his name was Andy Smelly. I seem to remember he played for Trojans. Very good wicketkeeper. He would stand up to pretty much everyone. I don't remember Brian Perryman in his day. He was fairly, not really quick, but he was quite, wasn't slow. And he would stand up to him and take stumpings. So he was keeping. So they said, "Oh, do you bowl?" I said, "Yeah." So I bowled, and I bowled okay. I don't hold any wickets. So I was still bowling for them on a Sunday for Access, still playing on Saturday for Southend. I think what changed it for actually bowling for Southend was actually on tour. We were on tour at Kilmington. And I think that year, Craig Porter wanted to start keeping. So he got the gloves, the pads, and sort of doing a few games. So I was in the side of Kilmington. So obviously I've never been a top half batsman. So John Beach was captain. So I sort of persuaded him to let me have a bowl. And when I came on, Ken was umpiring. And Ken obviously saw something there. He thought, actually, it's something I can work with. And then from there, I think Ken was skipping the twos for the rest of the season when we got back from tour. So he said, "Well, I'll give you a run in the twos at the end of the season, see how you do." So I think I started the season after the twos, then came down to the threes, which is probably more, to going into the twos, you're playing better wickets. It's against better batsmen. It's quite hard to start there. So I dropped back to the twos and to the threes, I should say, and just enjoyed it. And just obviously playing with people I'd known from when I used to keep wicket as well. It just went from there really until between the threes and the twos for most of the next few years.
So when you were growing up, who were your sort of cricketing idols from the national game? Were they spinners, keepers?
I don't think I think I probably didn't watch loads of cricket as a child. I don't think. So I got into more and really started going into probably when I started going down to South Just Park at the festivals. When I was about 15. I remember the first game we went down. There was Essex were playing Leicestershire. I think it was. I'm sure it was Leicestershire. And I think Essex had pretty much everyone on country duty. So Gooch wasn't playing, Pringle wasn't playing, Foster wasn't playing. So they had a pretty rubbish team, to be honest. And I think it was like the first when Phil de Freitas had just come onto the scene, and he just basically ripped through it. So what was meant to be a 3-day game was over in 2. So fair dues to Leicestershire, they actually agreed to do a friendly on the Friday, I think it was. So Essex got a few other people in. I think Balder was playing actually. So it's great. So there were loads of autographs, and it was brilliant. So I always remember, Balder was obviously a wonderful player. But yeah, Gooch. I remember Foster and Pringle, and spinners. I suppose the first off spin I sort of remember was sort of John Embry, really. Obviously worked really well with Phil Evans for Middlesex and England. So
good pair of spinners, as you say. So as a spin bowler, do you prefer bowling long spells, would you say?
I do, yeah. I prefer to. I think once I get into what I don't like, I'm not a massive fan of coming off and coming back on. I find it, when you're in a rhythm, I want to keep going. And I think that probably brings on to a game. We're playing for the threes. We were playing a bit of victory sports against Buckhurst Hill. Peter Stanner was captain. We turned up and took a change. Did a little modicum of warming up as we always did in the third 11. Chucked the ball about for 2 minutes. We lost. Humphrey won the toss. Not, we were fielding first. So Brian took the first over from coming in from the garden, Ennismore Gardens end. And Pete goes, "You're opening the bowling." I was like, "What?" He said, "No, you're opening the bowling." I was like, "Oh, okay, fine, okay." So came on, bowled and ended up. This is the days in the 52 over innings, and I think I would have bowled 26 overs in one end if I hadn't got the last wicket in that last over. So I think I bowled like 26.3 overs, but again, 7 wickets, 776 it was. So, which I'm obviously very pleased about. I think it was the second time I got 7, I think it was. Previous one was again, we had a very one-sided game against Southend boys. For some reason, we played in Brentwood and we bowled them out for about 100. 7 for 19 that day. So, but yeah, I do just want to get into a rhythm, and you just want to keep going, especially when the ball's coming out well. So.
Do you find you look at selection now and look at the bowlers and think there's quite a few overs in it for me Saturday, or?
Not really. No, I just
No.
want to come along and bowl, but I'm sort of where I'm now. I'm more interested in the kids bowling. Yeah, I want to come along and bowl, but I don't want to stand and come be number 11, don't bowl, don't bat. But there are some games where it's just like it's easier. I'm happy to step away. To let the kids bowl. I think.
Yeah,
Last year at we played Horndon. I think it was the first game we played after the lockdown, and I think to be fair, if their opening bat had got in, he looked like he could hit the ball quite a long way, and he just described one, didn't he? And,
that's right. Yeah.
And we bowled him out about 100. So it's like, well, what's the point? And I think I'll just bowl a couple just to sort of get my arm going for later on, really. So.
But some days, I guess, as you look at the team sheet and think there's not much bowling in this, so.
Yeah, indeed. Digressing slightly, but I remember a game on tour, we were playing at Seaton, and it's one of the tours we had, probably early 90s, I would say, maybe 94, 95, and we were bare bones. I think we were borrowing a couple of players, and one of the games we borrowed an old player for his club, John Johnson's son, Will Johnson, some of the lads will remember. We were playing a Seaton, and I think Cullifie weren't very well. I think Cullifie were injured. So I think we turned up a Seaton, we were like, okay, who's going to bowl today? You've got Will, Michael Orr, who was skipper, Laff, who was carrying injury, as you can probably believe, and me. And was like, I think Mike's idea, which was a good idea on paper, was like, okay, we'll bowl like 3 or 4 spells just to sort of keep people so no one gets knackered. But actually, I think Mike and Steve bowled about 4 or 5 overs each, and then Will and I just bowled the rest of the game, because Seaton's always quite a good track for spinners. We were keeping it, not massively tired, but we weren't getting whacked around the path, and he just got a set of decent. They sort of gave a decent total. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, so we'll come on to a game now in 2015 where you got your best bowling figures. Yeah,
indeed. It was a game I think it was the year I was sort of mixing around the sides. I used to play a lot of games at home that year, and I can't remember why. It's just one of those things, I guess. But yeah, we played Hornchurch 5th or 6th, I think it was. It was Dave Enderby's team. At the Garrison, which I always like bowling the Garrison, like the atmosphere. Just one of the days. Some grounds you just feel you bowl well at. Other games I'm not going to bowl well today, because you've got memories of that. And yeah, it was one of those days where the ball just came out nicely, and everything pretty much stuck, I should say. I had Russ Ward and Slips, who I think took 2 or 3 catches that day. Dave might have taken 1 or 2 behind the stumps, and you just want to bowl all day, because the ball was just coming out nicely. Some days you think it's not right, but that day it was, and yeah, finished up at 8 for 32. Disappointing about the game was Jeff Wood was there, and with his weather app on his phone, and he was at tea. He was saying rain's coming in. Not just because he was looking at that, and he said, I'll be here at 5:30. I think he was spot on, and we were about 20 or 30 runs short, I think, and it just came down too hard for us to carry on. So the game was abandoned, but it was nice to sort of record those figures, and the fact they stood as well. But it would have been a competitive game where, rather than abandon one.
Yeah, as you say, close to winning it, but just didn't have the time to get the runs you needed.
Yeah, indeed.
Nice.
I was thinking about another game, the game of that, which was quite close. We played. I think it was when Dino was captain of the 4th team, the 3rd team, I should say. But we were in the 4th Division Premier. We were trying to get promotion. We were playing Haynor and Clay Hall away at Clay Hall Park, and very dry, very dusty wicket, and we opened up with a seam. I think Eamon was playing, and Sahel was playing, and Dino was playing. They opened up. They got a pretty decent style. They were 40 off for naught, and I think think Sahel and I came on and we just literally just tied them down and kept them to just over 100, which was just as well, to be honest, because we went out to bat. Martin Hill was open to batting, and Martin Hill was block, 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 and playing, and he got to about 20 or 30, then he got out and he was distraught, because I think he looked around the team and thought, that pitch is doing a bit, their spinners on, and he could see us losing the game. And he just went off the other side of the pitch and just was head in hand almost. And it was close. We literally took it to the wire, but we had the youngsters. So it was great to have a couple of youngsters going in some 8 and 9, or I think it was. There was Hammond, what's his name? Connor Hammond and Pat Kearney, who were probably both about 14 at the time. And they just went in and just played. They didn't think about the fact that, oh, blimey, if we lose this, we could lose a 1 wicket, we could lose the game. They just, oh, it's there, I'll have a swing, and I run a quick single. That's what they did. And we won with, won the game and we won promotion, which was great. It was really good. It was a cracking game of cricket, and it played in a really good spirit as well.
I think those are the games you remember more, the ones where if you do well, it means more if you win. If you get six wickets for 40 or something, but you lose by 100, it takes the edge off it, doesn't it? It's not the same.
No, it's nice. And it's nice to, you always think, okay, that would be in the scorebook, or that would be maybe go on the ball. But at the end of the day, I'd rather get a 1 for, or 2 for a game. This goes to the wire, and I did win by, in the last over or something, So that's the ones you remember. That's definitely.
So we'll come on to your batting now. I've had a look at your play cricket. Am I correct that you've not scored a 50 for the club?
I did on Sunday. Years ago, we played I think it was a Nigel Reader game against Shrewsbury. Probably 92, 93, I think it was, at a guess. On that day, I think, to be honest, I think they fed us some runs, I think, just to make a game of it. I think we'd lost a few early wickets. I went in, they tossed a few up, and I was like, okay, fine, I whacked it around and got 54. I think it was a not out. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, that's the only time I've actually got over 50 for Southend. Got to the 40s a number of times. Probably the most recent was Hutton a couple of years ago, 2019. I think I had a new bat which I'd used once or twice, but with Hutton they got the net there, and because Kieran was, watching the game, he'd come along, and so actually for one side, someone to actually bowl me through in the net, and I was there for a little while, and just went out on the pitch and just everything was coming off the bat nicely, and and it just a bit annoying because we had 2 overs to go, we were nowhere near getting the score. But I looked at the scoreboard and I thought, let's try and get another to 150, get a point. And the guy came in, bowled one, and just pushed it a bit, just got a bit high on the bat, and just looped up to cover rather than, whereas tiny bit low. Would I play the different shot if I wasn't on the scoreboard? Who knows? You never know, do you?
No, that's right. I was going to ask, how did you get out on 47? But that was it. Was it going for extra runs, for an extra point?
Yeah. But again, I don't think it wasn't. I didn't go for a wild slog. It wasn't like last ball. It was. So would I play that shot? Because to me, it seemed fairly well pitched up. I think it was a probably slightly slower ball, and just a little bit early on it. Maybe thinking about the runs just made me a bit more, trying to force it a bit more, possibly. Who knows? It's it's a sort of sliding doors moment, isn't it?
It is, and also I guess in the 4th team game, you wouldn't have a scoreboard. Perhaps if it was on the 1st team ground at Southchurch, you'd have the board saying you're on 47, and you know indeed. That's it.
I think it was a 3rd team. I think it was a 3rd team game. I think Sweeney was Mike Sweeney was skipper that day. I think it was a 3rd team. But yeah, there was just like a little small board with just a score, and I think actually they hadn't actually updated the scoreboard anyway. So I think we were closer to that than we were when I actually came out. They were like, oh no, we're actually on 147 anyway. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's not the sort of thing you want to know when you out. No, it's not ideal. So
I think the usual conversation is like, oh, should we have told you? It's like, well, who knows?
That's it. Some people prefer to know, don't they? Some don't. It's a sort of a batsman's, each to their own, really.
Yeah.
So I'll come on to a bit more recent times. Obviously now Kieran's coming through playing cricket. You've coached him in the youth. How enjoyable is it to actually be able to play in the same side as Kieran?
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's what you dream of. I mean, I think it's one of the things that when he showed an interest in cricket when he was, when he was about 6 or 7, but I didn't want to sort of force him. And I think it was actually the missus said, "Would you want to go to training?" I think was bad, you know, and he obviously enjoyed it. And then Kev said, "Oh, as you're here for Kieran, would you like to sort of help out a bit?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd like to help out." Next thing I know, I'm running the B team, under 11 B, you know, which I thoroughly enjoyed. You know, initially it was like, "Oh, okay," but once I got into it, it's great. You know, obviously we were over Echo at the time, so it was a great, safe environment for the kids, all enclosed. It's great, and that was the fact that Kieran was there. You know, was enjoying his cricket and wasn't there under duress was brilliant. So, you know, and he sort of started coming along to more of the games on Saturday because he just wanted to watch. In a couple of games he sub-fielded when he was too young. Even though what was funny was he was obviously, as you know, he's quite a tall lad, and there was actually youth team players who were older than him but smaller than him on the pitch. And I mean, obviously thinking, what's going on here? You know,
no.
You know, but yeah, he sort of came along to there, but obviously. But I did sort of say, 2019, that, you know, the first game, his first adult game, I'd like to be in the same side as him. You know,
Yeah, that makes sense.
I knew it wouldn't. How would actually happen for how long? Who knows? But the first game, would like to have done that, but we did, and we played away at Hornchurch. But again, it's one of those things you wanted to be a great game where, you know, he scores 40, I take 5 for, we win the close game. Unfortunately, it wasn't. It was a nice game, but we didn't get enough runs. I think, you know, we got about 150 odd, I think it was, and they knocked him off with about 6-7 wickets down, you know. But I think I got 2 or 3 wickets. Kieran nearly got a wicket. He came on a bowled at the end, bowled okay, but, you know, it's all those games. It could have been so good, but it was, you know, but it's still great. It's still a great experience.
Was that a 4th team game?
No, that was a 3rd team game. Matt Ridgewell was skippering.
Yeah, I was away. I remember I was on holiday, and I remember looking at the team, and I did think, cool, that's a start for Kieran. But yeah, but I guess it's the one sport where you can realistically play in the same team.
Yeah, indeed.
In football, maybe rugby, you might get a season where you're at the end of your career and he's really starting out, but at 15, 14 years of old age, that's not really going to happen, is it? So
no. I mean, Kieran was playing rugby at Rochford, and I remember talking to some of the dads there, and said, "It must be so great the fact you can play in the same team." It's like, well, absolutely is, you know. So, you know, and I think what was nice was we played the second game we played. I think we didn't miss a couple of weeks. Next time we played up at Benfleet for the fours.
Yeah.
And we turned. I think there was something going on in Leeds, so everyone turned up late. So we were a bit late, but we think we were the last ones, and there was the EJSs were still probably hadn't left the house yet, to be honest.
Yeah.
And there was someone else hadn't turned up, and anyway, so we turned up, got changed, walked over the long walk down the hill to the bottom pitch of Benfleet. Lovely day, beautiful day. Dave won the toss and said we're batting. So looking around, I think he was looking around, thinking who's going to open the batting. He was planning to open with. I can't think of the name. Just forgotten with the left-handed guy, and I can't think of his name.
Is it Jamie Eacott?
Jamie Eacott. That's it. Couldn't think of that the other day. And he hadn't turned up. So I said to Dave, I said, "Well, look, if Kieran's here. Kieran normally opens the batting for me on a Sunday. It's where he normally bats. You know, I'm sure he'll open with it." So he did. And yeah, he batted all the way through. He survived his one game with Enderby without being run out. So that was good.
As a start.
Yeah, and he got 43 not out and batting through the whole game, and just was batting really well. And I think it was probably I think it's the only game the full team won that year. And I think that was a big thing because he just gave the base. Because Sahel came in number 4, I think it was, and Sahel could just play his game.
Yeah,
you know, there was a fair number. I think we were probably about 80 or 100 or 90 on the board when he came in. It was a great platform for Sahel just come in and just hit the ball around, you know, and Kieran just kept one end up. So yeah, I think that was the first, you know, obviously the first game. And I sort of think that would have been great to have in the first game, but it wasn't. But you know, it's still a great experience. We really enjoyed it, and it was a good game because I think they were. We won the game, but they certainly ran us close. I think we got a few late wickets. I think Shaleem came back at the end and got bowled a couple of guys out with a couple of really good balls. So it was just a nice team performance because I think everyone contributed, you know. So that was really good.
So when Kieran's batting, would you describe yourself as a nervous watcher, or how does it work for you? Do you?
No, I think I'm okay. To be fair, I'm probably normally scoring anyway. So
yeah.
Although that game I was actually umpiring, which just because I think Jeff came along to watch, so there's no way I'm getting a full team scorebook off Jeff. So
no,
you know, and absolutely right as well. But normally I'm scoring. I mean, I've watched him a few like in the district games, and when he got his 49 and he got given out for bump ball. I won't go any further on that one. But no, I think I just watch it and just let him do it.
Yeah,
trying to put the pressure on him. You know, which I suppose, and it's almost surreal when we were watching. We're moving on to the next game. Was probably
we'll come on to that in a minute.
Over the Garrison against Old South Indians, it was just nice to watch it. I was scoring, and he was just quite surreal. He was just go and just batted and just got his head down and just, you know, I think the bowling, you know, it was, you know, he's probably faced stronger bowling in some games, but you still got to score the run. So
I said just before we come on to that game, Kieran's, as we were talking about Kieran, he's quite a self-analytical cricketer, isn't he? He's quite keen to work on his game. He sort of says to me sometimes, quite specific things for someone of his sort of age. I want to work on this rather than just can either net. It's very good the way he works out what his not weaknesses are, but what he can improve on, and a lot more structured than some people sort of his age. And as I think you've said to me before, you forget just how young he is. He's what, 15 now?
He's 15 now, yeah.
Yeah, because of his height, you forget how young he is really.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. You know, he's always looked old at his age, and you know, and that's why it's got to be a rule about people playing too young, you know, for adult cricket. But it's where you just underneath some sanity to say, well, actually, these people, you know, you've got a 15-year-old who's sort of down by someone's ankles. Yes, it's a risk. If you've got someone who's taller, then you know,
that's it.
Yeah, I suppose with things with us, we've always sort of, because when we were in the youth, I made him captain because you know, I just always probably the easiest person to be captain because we can sort of talk about things on the way to the game while we're setting up the game, and you know, I think and he enjoyed it. You know, will he be a captain long term? I don't know, but he was. So I think that's probably where it came from. The fact that we would sort of not have a total, you know, investigation, but just after the game, we think, what could we have done better? Could we have done this? Or should we have batted first? Should we have bowled first? Should we have brought, you know, Shaleem on earlier? Should we brought him back? You know, so I guess it comes from there just to get that mindset going.
No, it's certainly a good thing to do, I think. But I always thought he was a bowler first, and it was the first couple of games I played with him in the third team. I think one was up at Chingford last year, 2019. And he bowled 10 overs or something. And I don't know if he batted. I can't remember. I haven't got the scorecard handy. But it was like, yeah, you can bowl. I think it's probably a case of you're an off spinner. It was just assumed that's what he did.
Yeah.
It was only after someone's like, he's more of a batsman.
I think I think it's sort of my change really. I mean, he came along as everyone does when they first start playing, and he used to bowl sort of medium pace. He used to come in and you know, and he bowled it. He spoke away. He had one good game against Butler, where he got like 4 wickets in an over. Just one of those mad overs. They're just, you know, which apparently I miscounted as well. He said he still has a go at me sometimes because that's 5 ball over, got 4 wickets. Yeah, whatever.
Yes.
I think it just gradually worked on his batting, and then I can't remember when because he used to bowl fairly early on and start in the under-11s. He used to bat later down because I used to think if someone's opening bowling, don't open batting with them as well, just to try and make sure everyone gets an even sort of game. And I can't remember exactly. We decided to. I think he was probably moving in under 13s. I said, well, you know, to open because I'd seen him develop. I always remember Kev Grant saying. I remember hearing it at Nets once. It's one of those sort of comments you hear when you're watching one neck. You hear Kev somewhere there talking to someone else. And he said, "Oh, I think he was probably again about 11. So I think he'll be long term be a better batsman than a bowler." And so, okay. Obviously, Kevin knows what he's talking about. Absolutely, you know. So it's all things you think about. But yeah, it just migrated. But I do remember that game with Chingford because I think I had to play home for some reason. I think, or I couldn't play. And anyway, I came down to pick him up from the clubhouse. And no, I'm lying. I'm mixing the story. Apologies. What I remember was I think he played in that game with Chingford, and the week after was when we played at Benfleet.
Right,
so
that makes sense. Yeah.
And Chris Hunt was there, and I think Chris said to Kieran, you get any wickets today? He said, well, no, I didn't bowl. And he was like, what? You didn't bowl? Because, you know, he said, well, and I was like, no, you opened the batting. You got 40. He was like, oh, right, okay. And, you know, but yeah, I think he'd sort of seen as a bowler because he think, you know, bowled that sort of level. So
that's fair. So we'll come on now to your game, last season, the old boys game. But actually, but just before we come on to that, we'll talk about the first game of the season last year, which was mid-July, late because of circumstances, where Kieran got his first 50 for the club.
Yeah.
Up at, it was Horndon, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
In a game where, again, possibly not the strongest, but he batted well. Was that a little bit, did you then think, yeah, he can do this, he can score good runs at this level?
I think so. I think that's when I first. You never know exactly until you actually see him bat at that level and actually get some runs under your belt. But I always thought, well, you know, because he played some of the district games against some good bowlers, but obviously at district you haven't got the bowlers, haven't got the old wily old guys who know exactly where to put it. They got good bowlers, but they best in the world. They don't think they will just bowl well. So I always thought he could do it, but it's just nice to actually realise it, so to speak, and actually, you know, and actually put on a partnership as well. It's not just about getting your runs yourself, but it's actually good that he had a good partnership with Joe. I think they put on, must have been near enough 100 between them.
Yeah. Well, I think they both retired, didn't they?
I think they did, yeah.
Yeah. It was, as you say, it's just the manner of how he scored the runs. I think it's the difference, because against a weaker attack, some people can mow a 40 or something. It makes them look good. But to get 50 and retire, I think he might hit a straight 6 or very close to 1.
Yeah.
And as you say, it looked a proper batsman's innings rather than just, he hit some bad bowling, which is good. So now we'll come on to the game against the old boys. Just before you bring up, I think in a week or two before, me and him had worked on some stuff. And as I was saying about him being self-analytical, I don't want to get bogged down against slower bowling. So we did quite a bit over the park, and they started with a very slow bowler, didn't they? Ricky Stevenson.
Yeah.
That would be something that he wouldn't have faced before because it was just so slow.
Yeah.
And
no, he did. And I think to be fair, he took a while to get going. He scored quite slowly at the start. Did he open?
He did. Joe, he was 13 off 29. He was at one point.
Yeah. But I think Joe was at the other end, and Joe went off and playing his shots. But I think then Joe spooned one around the corner and was caught, if I remember rightly. I can't remember who went in 3. Was it Glenn? It was Glenn. Well, obviously that again, having Glenn playing, especially that sort of level, at any level, Glenn's will just move the scoreboard along.
Yeah,
and it's great to have someone on the other end, because you can see the scoreboard moving. You think, you know, whereas if both people are getting a bomb down, you think, you know, scoreboard pressure builds, doesn't it?
That's right.
So I think just got into his stride and just built it and just carried on. And I think it's funny, because I think Helen phoned my wife and said, "You might want to get over it." I was busy scoring. I was probably shot myself. She phoned the missus and said, "You want to get over it?" You know, because I think Kieran might score a big score. So
at what point in that? So you were talking about scoring. So you're obviously know what he's on all the time. At what point did you think 100's on here? Because I suppose before the game, if someone said to you, "Kieran gets 60 today," you'd be over the moon with that.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, I don't keep the score going all the time, but I'm looking when he got his 50, and then he got to about 65, and I think that old South Indian boy, young lad on, who was a good bowler. He plays for district. I think he plays for Essex as well. I can't remember his name, but I think he just came on. Callum, yeah, and he just struggled with his lengths that day. He just obviously used to bowling the full length compared to a youth length, you know. And I think he just came on, and I think just Kieran just was merciless to him, to be honest. I think he hit about 15, 20 off and over, and suddenly it just went from the 65 to 80 odd. And I think it didn't suddenly think, actually, you know, it's on, definitely. And I think then I started thinking, right, though I'm not massively nervous I was scoring, I was still thinking, well, I'm not going to move. I'm going to stay exactly where I am, you know. And so a little bit of superstition creeps in the time, definitely.
So I was just going to ask, at that point, when he got to sort of the 80s, Was there part of you that fancied saying to someone else, can you score? I want to walk around the boundary, or are you just quite happy keeping an eye on it?
No, I was quite happy. So, you know, you're in a good position with there scoring. You've got the book, you know, and you know, I get a little bit control freak take over thing. I'm judge the book, trying to make sure I score it, knock every single run down, absolutely, which I obviously do anyway, but just a little bit more care, you know, and then, you know, so yeah, I was quite happy there. Quite happy watching.
I think from my memory of his 100, I think it got a little bit frantic on the sidelines. Probably when he got to about 85, because Liam went out to bat with him, didn't he? Because we were a bit worried that he'd get, if we had a young side and we had plenty of runs, we always really should have won that game, which we did. Yeah. But it got to a point where Liam was batting with him. I think when he got to sort of 85, I was, right, I'll put some pads on. If Liam's out, I'll go and bat and help Kieran, try and help Kieran not get bogged down. And for about 10, 15 minutes, I think it got not fraught, but I was like, what's Kieran on now? And with it being a young side as well, other people, what's he on now? Is it 92, 93? At that point, did you just think, shush, go away? I do, as I say, I remember it got very fraught for 10 minutes, not in a bad way, but I was like, right, if he's out now, we can send in Jat in. I think Louis was playing because Matt Ridgwell had to work. We had a real young side. We sort of had no one else to umpire. You were scoring. And I was like, I'll get my pads on. And if he's out, you go in. This happens. And when he gets 100, though, you're obviously over the moon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Just, you know, I always thought I didn't expect him to get it in his sort of second full year, really. I think circumstances, I think it's one of those things that we were talking about the other day, Kieran and I were saying, I think in some ways it'd be nice if his first season had been totally in the fours, or majority in the fours, playing more games, just to sort of build into it. So I think he was a sort of tougher introduction, playing mostly predominantly third team games in that season. But I think then the following year, just that start was just that, just even up the you know, the level a little bit, you know. So
that's good.
But obviously he didn't all go his own way. I mean, he obviously had the game, you know, he seemed to almost like get a good score, then a one, then a good score, then a one, then something else, and you know. But yeah, obviously went on from there and obviously finished the season in the A side, which was a great experience, you know. So
has he sort of progressed more than you thought at this stage?
Hard to say. I don't think I ever sort of planned it out to say, by 15 I want to do this. I think it's just been as it played by ear, you know, just going to, you know, obviously keen to be involved with this district for the last few years, and then you think, well, if he's playing that level and, you know, holding his own, then you think, well, actually it could be, you know, threes, fours. I thought maybe 15. I thought we would be playing threes this year. Yeah, or, you know, that sort of high level. Then what happens years to come? Next couple of years, who knows? But obviously, I just want to keep progressing the way it's going. And obviously, big thank you to you for all the coaching you did during the summer. Really appreciated. Would like to help out more, but
that's fine.
You know, work away. But you know.
Is there any sort of part of you that's a little bit not disappointed that perhaps the length of time that you might play together has been a bit shortened by his progress, if you know what I mean?
A little bit, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose it would. I thought maybe a couple of years we'd be sort of playing the same team, but you know, I'm not going to sort of hold him back. So yeah, no. But yeah. I suppose you sort of look back at yourself, think actually, thinking to myself, wish I'd started early, wish I'd played more youth team, wish I got involved before. Just one of those things. At the time, I probably had no awareness of people playing local cricket when I was similar sort of age, really, or younger. To think, oh, actually, go and join a club. You know, I was aware for football teams, but you know, I guess if you don't play a lot for the school, you think, well, why would you think you're good enough to play for a club? I don't know.
No, that's fair enough. So what are your plans for 2021? Just see what goes, I guess, at the moment. Just hopefully play some cricket.
So. Yeah, just want to play cricket, really. Play the games I can. hopefully we get some games in whatever format, and with a degree of competition in it, but not, and just hopefully some decent weather and a good turnout from the club, and it'd be nice to see some old faces who perhaps didn't play this year for all the right reasons, coming back into the fold. I know Mr. Monty's talked in the past about trying to get like an ex-Southend team up on a Sunday, which I think we talked about before last year, but obviously, so when it says Southend went against, so maybe that's something we can try and do this year. Get some of the old faces out for a day, just have an old club day,
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be sort of Southend members. Absolutely, ex-Trojan, ex-Monics, absolutely.
Team. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Veteran team, ideal. I think it'd be good. Just enjoying the cricket. You sort of look at these things, and the experiences that you've had, and think there's some good, some bad. One thing I said to Kieran the other day, I said would have been great. You'd have loved was coming on Devon tour with us. Great memories of that. With different people. Quite. I think some of the better ones were smaller parties. I think I mentioned earlier. It's just more of a tight knit, because you would stay together, whereas the bigger parties would naturally gravitate. By age groups. Young ones want to go back to go clubbing and things like that. Others will go for a meal, but when it's a smaller group, you just stayed in it, and I really enjoyed those. The sort of early to mid '90s tours. Not that I didn't enjoy all of them. I did. It's just a great, it's just a great place to play cricket. Great people from our club and from the opposition, and just seeing the same people, and just it's a beautiful part of the country.
So from putting on your youth coaching hat, how do you think with looking at the moment with youth coming through? We've got some good cricketers coming through, Kieran. And
I think we're in a good place. I think the big thing is just trying to keep them interested into adult. I think the ones you probably mentioned, I think you look at the Lukes, the Kierans, the Benjis, the Rowans, even Matthew Geiler, people like that, Jacob. You sort of know that they're probably all going to go into adult cricket.
Yeah.
But what you want to try and do is keep the ones who are good players and keen, keep them interested. And if they go and if they need to play 14 cricket, when so be it. But it's just be great to see them carry on playing. I don't want to name your name, but it's just people enjoying the game. That to me, that's the thing. You get people who naturally rise up and will play first team, and other people will go to twos, maybe to threes. Play the odd games in different teams, obviously. But you always want the people.
I think it's just the length of game that's the thing that maybe puts some kids off. It goes from a 20-over game on a Sunday morning to a 100-over game at Hornchurch, and they could be out first ball, and that's it done. And I think that's the problem for youth cricket, not for us as a club, just in general, really.
I think part of that is a way. I understand why they go from. Obviously, under 11s, under 13s is Sunday mornings, and they go from 20 to 24. I think in under 13s, if I remember rightly. I think, but then you go to under 15s, which is evenings. So weather and conditions dictate you can't do more than 20 overs generally. You might be lucky and get 22 if it's a bright evening. You start on time, everything runs smoothly. But you're almost going back. You're going up a level to play people playing stronger cricket, but you're making the game shorter.
Yeah.
And I know. I think at one of the Essex commission or the district committee a couple of years ago, Kevin and Danny suggested that we should play under 15 games on a Sunday afternoon, because Sunday cricket is not where it was when I started playing.
No.
When I started playing, there was most weeks you had 2 teams out on a Sunday, and it's funny. We always got the Sunday twos out. Sometimes the Sunday ones got cancelled because it was at that high level, and there was a smaller catchment, I guess. Yeah. Whereas the Sunday twos would be like Saturday night walking around the clubhouse saying, "Anyone who wants to play a game tomorrow?" You just drag anyone in, And I think so. I think the opportunity is there to play more games Sunday afternoon under 15s, and then you could extend it to say a 30-over game, 25, 30-over game, which then it just breaks it down. So you've got the stepping stone up to. So then if they're going to the 4s, they're playing a 40-over game. Then to the 3s, it's a 45-over game. It's not that big jump, as you say.
Plus, for someone like Kieran as a batsman, come out playing under 14s, under 13s, when you have to retire at, say, 30 to play in a a men's game where you don't retire. It's a totally different format, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's a big jump, you know. And I think not so much from Kieran, but I remember last year we played a game. Actually, my year before, we were playing Ilford, I think, at home. You were skipper, and we turned, and you were with 10 men. So I said, well, there was no one to keep wicket. So I said, well, why do we see? Because Luke was playing. I said, why don't we get Jacob in?
That's right. Yeah.
And we phoned him up at like 12 o'clock and said, fancy game? Yeah, okay. Fancy keep wicket? Yeah, okay. And he turned up. Never played an adult game before. Playing, and again, used to play in the sort of 20 odd over youth games, and you know, came in and did really well and kept his concentration all the way through and did really well. And you know, it was great to see, you know, thrown in the deep end. It wasn't quite planned, but great to see him come in and enjoy it.
No, so we're in a good place with kids to come through. Let's just hope there's cricket for them this summer.
Definitely, that's the key thing. It's just keeping them interested. That's the thing. When last year it just wasn't feasible. I think we'd like to have done more, but it was just difficult to sort of get the games arranged because of commitments and people's circumstances and the opposition as well. So
that's it. But also, by the time we got through to games, it was late in the season, wasn't it? So the youth was almost done.
You know, it's like in youth team. You need to get all the youth team games, league games. You need to get them done by early July. If you don't, then once you get this holiday season, it's no point. You won't get the teams out. No. You want to get them, and that's why the league structured their games. You know, from May to July.
No, that's great. Right, Graham. Well, thank you very much for your time this evening. It's been a pleasure talking to you for times. Thank you very much. Cheers, Graham.
Okay. Cheers. Stay safe.